Hello, it's me. I haven't spoken to a camera in a long time and I feel very awkward and nervous. So I think the first thing that I want to do is apologize for not making a video for like almost a year. I think I made 1 or 2 videos in 2024 and I'm sure that everyone who sees this video pop up in their subscription box is going to be very surprised to see me. You've probably already forgotten that I even existed, and I get it. And then I've also lured you in with this very clickbaity, alarmist type of title, but it's not a lie. So I guess what I'm here to do is to just tell you my story. I don't know if any of you would remember that I was sick in probably the last video that I made. I was trying to recover from some cold or something or other that I had contracted over the Christmas holidays, and I did get better. It took a long time to get better. And then I immediately got an abscessed tooth and had to wait a month on a root canal for that. And then after I got better from that, I got sick with another cold. And none of this, I feel, is really relevant to the story I'm about to tell you, other than to say that all that time I was sick and I was on antibiotics for this or that, and so I ended up writing off later symptoms because of these sicknesses that I had at the beginning of the year. The beginning of the tumor story starts probably in the spring or summer of 2023 is when I started having some pains in my left lower abdomen where I was thinking that my ovary is. And my mother had fibroids on her uterus and ovary. And by the way, I'm gonna be talking about female reproductive organs in this video. So if that's something that you don't want to hear about, there's going to be a lot of that kind of talk. Not explicit or anything, but you know, just if you or someone who's listening doesn't want to hear the names of all of these reproductive organs, then maybe this isn't a great video for you. Anyway, so my mother had uterine and ovarian fibroids. These things often run in families, and I assumed that that pain was probably fibroids. And I know that my mother had to take hormonal birth control to try to control these fibroids, which I did not want to do, and then she ended up having to have a hysterectomy. And I didn't want to do that either. So what I did was ignore it. It wasn't very bad. Like, it was ignorable. And it went away after a while, and then it would come back, and then it would go away. And so I wasn't terribly concerned about it. I didn't go get it checked out. And I had some occasional bouts with it where it was pretty severe. Like, I couldn't walk very well, and it would just pass. It would pass, and it was nothing. That's what I thought. It was nothing. Also, around this time, I started to put on some weight, like very gradually, like a pound a month or so. And I was becoming discouraged with that because I had until that point not struggled a lot with being able to lose weight when I was on some type of diet. I, of course, gained weight very easily when I wasn't, but if I tried to control it with diet and exercise, I could. And I no longer could do that. And I thought it was all just age. Anything you Google tells you that it's age, it's perimenopause, or you're getting close to 40, this is just what happens. And so I just kind of chalked it up to that, and there's nothing I can really do about it. And so I just kept putting on my pound a month. And then we wrap around to 2024, where I was taking all the antibiotics and the root canal and just being sick a lot. And I started having a lot of digestive issues. And I thought it was because I had to take so many antibiotics. So by the summer this year, I had started looking into some type of supplement. I was taking probiotics. I decided to try some of those like beef organ supplements because, you know, they say if there's some type of hormonal imbalance that maybe that will help, because everything on Google said, well, it's probably your hormones. And I was still having the little pain off and on in my lower left abdomen. And I continued to ignore it. And by this point, I had put on at least 15 pounds. And I was still ignoring it. And I got to the point where I even like tried one of those MLM correct everything, happy juice type of supplements, because I was just starting to be really miserable. The weight gain was very much in my abdomen, and it very much felt just like extreme bloating all the time. When I would eat, I would get full really quickly, and it seemed like it would take forever for my stomach to empty, for anything to pass through. And I was miserable, and I still did not get it checked. So in late July, early August, I started having pains that I couldn't ignore. The same pain, but extremely exaggerated. And I was feeling pain all the way up to my rib cage. I know you can't see where I'm pointing. Okay, pain from like here to here. I'm having pains, okay? Now I don't know if I put the camera back how it was. It doesn't matter. So pains I couldn't ignore. Very much a burning sensation. Very much unable to pass things through my colon area. At all of this time, I didn't have any red flags associated with my cycle. Everything was fine. I did not have pain during intercourse, which is supposed to be a big red flag. I didn't have that. I just had the pain, the weight gain, the bloating, and feeling full quickly. So these were the problems. And the pain is what eventually sent me to the doctor, because I was just up all night. It would get worse and get better, but never stop. All the time it hurt. There was no position that was comfortable. I just could not, I couldn't even take Nugget for walks. It was bad. So I did give it another couple of weeks to go away, you know? That just, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. And this video is to let you know to not ignore your body, okay? I am learning that lesson the hard way, and I don't want you to do the same. Anyway, I went to the doctor, just urgent care. I thought, at this time, I really thought they were gonna tell me I was constipated, and if anything, that I had some type of intestinal problem, because most of my issues that had been ongoing had been related to food, as far as the bloating and the feeling full. And I was thinking maybe it's I shouldn't have gluten or something. These were the things that were going through my head, is some type of intestinal infection, and hopefully it wouldn't be severe. So the doctor immediately did some blood work, did a urine sample. Everything was fine, so I didn't have any kind of infection. But now looking back at the actions that he took and other people's stories of how doctors have just ignored their symptoms, like if a woman comes in and says, oh, I'm bloated and I'm having some pains, they usually just tell her, well, it's your cycle, and send you home. My doctor did not do that, and I'm so thankful. So I didn't have an infection. So then the doctor was like, look, you probably got an ovarian cyst. And this was the first time I'd really heard this word. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And he said, you know, it's probably nothing, and they usually go away on their own. But what I'll do is I'll give you a prescription for some pain medication if it's too severe for you to deal with while we're waiting for it to resolve on its own. And I'm also going to send you for an ultrasound just to make sure of what we're looking at. And then he sent me on my way with an ultrasound scheduled for that day. I still at this point thought they might find something intestinal. And I went to get the ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech was, you know, they can't tell you anything. It has to be a doctor to tell you. So the ultrasound tech was just nice as she can be, and she asked me questions like, do you feel like you have frequent urination? And I was like, what? Yeah. And so there was another symptom that I'd been ignoring, but it wasn't giving me trouble. I've never thought of it as a symptom. It was just like, I have to pee a lot, but apparently there's another symptom for you. So the most alarming part of the ultrasound is when she did my right side where I'm not having any problems, and she stayed like right down at the bottom of my abdomen where my ovary is, and she did whatever they do, took a few pictures or whatever they do, and it was nothing. And then when she went to this side, she had the wand all the way up to my rib cage. I had to roll this way and that way, and I knew that she found something there, and I just didn't know what it was. And I didn't know for probably another 8 hours or so, I guess. Which another thing that I'm thankful for is that my doctor told them to get these results quickly. And I don't know if my doctor at the urgent care really suspected anything. He did not say that he did, but he really did get that ultrasound to the radiologist quickly, and they got the results to me quickly, and the results popped up on my little app, my health app, before I heard from a doctor. So I just opened it up, and I thought it was going to say that there was some kind of blockage or something in my intestine, and I was getting worried, and I didn't know what to do. And then it popped up with mass. I did not know what to do. Within maybe 5 minutes of getting those results, my gynecologist's office called, and they wanted me to come in the next day. And she said, it looks like you have a 12 centimeter cyst on your left ovary. And I said, is that bad? And she said, well, that's large. And I said, well, okay, you know, that still seems okay. And she said, it's very large. I scheduled my appointment for the next morning with a doctor I'd never seen before, because my doctor didn't have the availability, so I just had to see the first available. And I read over the results. I had a fibroid on my uterus. I had the mass, this 12 centimeter mass on my left ovary, and then they found small cysts on my right ovary, which wasn't presented as alarming in the ultrasound, and eventually proved to be just regular cysts that are to do with your reproductive cycle. So the right ovary was not alarming. I was scared about the fibroid, but the mass, like, I just could not believe this thing was in there. It's a little bit bigger than a grapefruit. Like a small cantaloupe, a large grapefruit inside my body. Kind of the same size as like an almost halfway done baby. So like you're maybe like 18 weeks or so along in your pregnancy when your baby gets about that size. So that's what I was carrying around and ignoring. So I went to the doctor the next day, and he immediately reassured me and said, you're too young for cancer, and we're not going to worry about that. It's just a cyst. They get very large. I have seen them this large. I've seen them larger. And what we need to do is just get it out. And I said, great. I wanted to get it out. And we scheduled a surgery. I chose to have a fertility sparing surgery, so they were going to remove the cyst, the left ovary, and my left fallopian tube, and leave everything else. They said the fibroid, as long as it wasn't bothering me, that they could leave it, that it would be fine. And it wasn't bothering me. So we did the surgery, which I was scared to death to do the surgery. We did it laparoscopically, which means that I had a cut on my belly button and 2 cuts right along like my, I guess, my panty line where it would be hidden if I were to wear a bikini, which I don't plan on doing, but very small incisions where they just stick their instruments in and do all the work with the instruments and pull everything out with small little baggies through the holes that they've made. And I did the surgery. It was fine. It was outpatient. I went home pretty much immediately after I woke up. I didn't have a lot of pain. I didn't experience really any of the negative things I was prepared for. I never had to take any of the painkillers that they sent me. I just took some Tylenol or Advil, and it was fine. It was fine. And then 2 days later, the pathology results from the cyst came in, and it was not benign. And I didn't know what that meant. But what I had was a serous borderline ovarian tumor. So all of a sudden now this thing, this mass, it was a tumor instead of a cyst. So I had a tumor. I had a grapefruit-sized tumor. And they referred me to an oncologist. I kind of lost it a little bit. My doctor reassured me that this often is not something that causes any future problems for people, but it does have to be monitored because it's not cancer, but it's not cancer. That's what he said. So now I am a couple of months past that day when he told me that, and I have done probably nothing else except for research what that means. Then after going to see my oncologist, and the oncologist allowing his pathologist to give a second look to my pathology results from the surgery, they have decided that my borderline tumor is very advanced. It was about as close to cancer as you can be without it being cancer. And what that means for me is that, well, first of all, let's just hope that the samples that they chose for their slides showed us the full picture and that there wasn't a place on this tumor that had fully become cancer. And then there was also the worry of what if it is somewhere else and not just in the ovary and in the tumor. And so the options at this point became we could do a surgery, another surgery, to go in and look and see and take biopsies all over to see if it's anywhere else. There would also be the option of a full hysterectomy at that point in time. There's also some types of hormonal suppressing drugs that I could take because these tumors are typically estrogen responsive. So the more estrogen you provide them, the more they grow. And if we take some type of pill to suppress that, it helps them to not have their food source, basically. This was a lot for me to take in because it's one of two ways. Either we caught it just in time or we caught it just a little too late. And the fact of the matter is that until it either comes back or appears in some way, like if they find it in a surgery or on a scan or blood work or whatever, until we see it, I just have to wonder if it's there. Because my doctor did a CT scan, I had to drink a horrible drink and have an IV that was terrible, and I did a CT scan and they don't see anything else. And this is good, this is good, this is great. So that means I don't have any evidence of disease at this point. And my doctor wants to give it some time and just continue watching me, scanning me. And if we never see anything else, then he doesn't feel like we need to go in and do the surgery or do a hysterectomy or do any type of drug intervention at this point in time. We just have to wait and see what it decides to do. If it does come back or reappear somewhere else, it may be another borderline tumor like I already had, or it may be a low-grade serous ovarian cancer, which is what my tumor advanced toward. Borderline tumors don't all advance toward the same type of cancer, but mine was so advanced that we already know what type of cancer it potentially wants to be. So, which is, there's just no way to know. There's no way for me to know if it's gonna come back or what it's gonna be when it comes back, if it comes back. Hopefully it never will. And that's what I've been dealing with for a while. And it really, I'm very lucky now that I have seen what other people are dealing with that have low-grade serous ovarian cancer. I'm sure that they would tell me that I am just the absolute luckiest person in the world because we've caught it early. It may never appear. If it was there, it may never come back. I do feel lucky and grateful, but also if I had listened to myself and acted sooner, then maybe I would have less risk than I do now. And because of the type of surgery that I had, there was a surgical spill where the tumor ruptured a bit into my abdominal cavity when they were trying to drain it and get it all out through the small holes with the instruments that they were having to use. And so the spillage raises my stage to a more complicated level because they might have spread it at that time. So I have to take it day by day, and wonder what it will end up becoming. Low-grade serous ovarian cancer is very rare, and it doesn't have a treatment of its own. It's just treated with other types of cancer treatments. Chemo doesn't really work. It's a very slow growing cancer, which means you get a lot longer to try to treat it, and you do the amount of time that people typically live is a bit longer, but the average is like 10 to 12 years, and I am 38 years old, and that's not long enough for me. But I'm telling you all this, and I didn't mean to talk this long. I definitely didn't want to get all weepy. Anyway, I'm telling you all this because if just one person watches this video and they are having some type of symptom and they go and they get it checked out, even if it's not cancer, gosh, I hope it's not cancer, but if you go and advocate for yourself and get your doctors to pay attention to you and not ignore you now or in the future, then it was worth making this video. I've been talking for way too long. I am very sorry. And I do want to make some more content. I have been embarrassed. First, I was embarrassed about my weight gain, and then I was embarrassed that it had been so long, and now I'm not embarrassed. Life's too short to be embarrassed. Just do what you want to do. And I want to make videos occasionally I'm not gonna go back to the roundups. I know that somebody else is doing roundups now, and I'm not gonna try to do that. But I do wanna be active on this channel, and I will make a video about that that's not about tumors. Though I can't promise that I won't talk about this all the time. I have my next scan in January, and I'll keep you updated. But for now, I am okay. And I hope you are also okay. And I'm sorry that I have just been not here. I didn't do a lot of diamond painting during all of this either. Hey, do you want to see the difference? I'll put up a picture of like what my stomach looked like the day before surgery, and then I can kind of show you what it looks like now, I guess. If I can get the camera to work. It's still stretched out quite a bit, and I guess it always will be. But I lost 20 pounds after the surgery. So listen to your body. You're not dumb. You know if it's doing something it's not supposed to do. And don't be like me. Don't ignore when your body's trying to tell you something. It'll turn against you if you do that. And also, don't be alarmed. Most things aren't cancer. Anyway, I will talk to you guys another time in the next video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.